Carolina reporting its worst chickenpox outbreak in more than 2 decades. 36 students sickened at one private elementary school in Asheville, which has one of the state's highest rates of religious exemptions to vaccines. According to the Asheville Citizen-Times, more than 72% of students have never received the chickenpox vaccine. And a mysterious illness sickens more than 24 students at a Thanksgiving prayer. 26 students and one adult rushed to the hospital after the event at a Catholic high school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The symptoms ranged from nosebleeds to seizures to fainting. Still unclear what caused the illness. All of the victims have been released from the hospital. Well, now it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And let's start with the good. Hi, God. How are you doing? Joanne Gaines surprised with that message. It was written on her daughter's bathroom vanity. The fixer-upper star says that her shock turned into gratefulness for the sweet message when she realized it was written in erasable ink. And next, the bad. An alligator takes a bite out of the Thanksgiving Day menu. A woman finding this 8-foot beast breaking into her garage refrigerator. This was in South Carolina. The gator spilled 5 bottles of Italian wine that she planned to serve on Thursday. And finally, the ugly. Actress Heather Locklear placed on another psychiatric hold after suffering a mental breakdown. According to TMZ, her therapist and lawyer sent the help to her California home. Locklear has dealt with a series of arrests and hospitalizations in the past year. She is facing charges for allegedly kicking an officer and EMT back in June. Well, that wraps up this hour of Fox and Friends First. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm off the next couple of days. Have a great Thanksgiving, hopefully with family and friends. I'll see you back here next Monday. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Bye-bye.
It is Tuesday, November 20th, and a Fox News alert. A hospital shooting rampage. A rookie police officer killed in the line of duty, rushing into gunfire to save innocent lives.
How the war on cops just escalated to alarming new numbers. And it may be back to the drawing board for the Trump administration on immigration enforcement.
The major legal setback just handed down from an Obama-appointed judge. Also, she's eating for 2 this holiday season, and now Meghan Markle will really feel the weight of being a royal.
The bizarre Christmas tradition turning heads this morning. Fox and Friends First continues right now. And a good morning to you. You are watching Fox and Friends First on this Tuesday morning. I'm Jillian Mealy.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. Thanks for getting up early with us today. And starting with a Fox News alert, the Trump administration barred from refusing asylum to immigrants who cross into this country illegally.
Douglas Ader joins us live from Washington with more as we learn hundreds of criminals may be traveling with the migrant caravan. Good morning, Doug.
The Trump administration is going to have to regroup on this. A federal judge in San Francisco says that the government cannot require that asylum seekers only cross at one of 26 designated border crossings along the southern border. This is going to create some additional challenges there. The Department of Homeland Security says there are hundreds of criminals among the migrants, and Customs and Border Patrol is urging the caravan participants to stay where they are.
Mexico has offered these individuals, they've offered them asylum status, they have offered them work permits, they've offered them workshops on how to obtain asylum and work permits in Mexico. So the Central Americans that are passing through Mexico, if in fact they...
And Janice, you warned us about the potential of mudslides, and now here we are potentially.
Oh, I wish they could get a break.
I know.
It's terrible. Yeah, so we've had wildfires. The moisture in the west is going to help the wildfires and the firefighters they're fighting. But when you have burn areas with, 1 to 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall, it's going to cause the potential of flash flooding and mudslides. So we will certainly keep you up to date on that. Want to talk about current temperatures because we've got some of the coldest air of the season. And this Thanksgiving in New York City could be the coldest in about 20 years. So we're watching the potential for cold air weather, as well as a little bit of snow in the forecast for parts of the Great Lakes, the interior Northeast. We have some scattered storms along the Gulf Coast. But taking a look at it right now, that's where we're seeing the scattered snow flurries. We're not talking about a big system here, but certainly something we need to watch for. Travel delays. If you're traveling today, certainly call ahead. Here is that quick clipper system that's going to move across the Ohio Valley, parts of the Northeast as well. A little bit of rain mixed in as also, and that cold air is going to start to sink in Wednesday into Thursday. Something we're going to be talking about certainly in the New York City area. There's the future radar for the West as a system moves in. Parts of the Northwest, Northern California, Central California, going to get quite a bit of rainfall and some mountain snow. So although this is a good news situation, we are potentially going to see the threat for flooding and mudslides. So travel delays actually not too bad. It's just the West Coast we're going to have to watch for, and very, very cold here in the Northeast for Thanksgiving. And by the way, Thanksgiving is certainly coming. What are you both thankful for? I'm putting you on the spot.
You guys, of course, the job, my family. I mean, It's always my family, my friends.
Ditto. You can't put us on the spot like that.
So listen, it's important. You know, the news cycle sometimes is very depressing, and we get into sort of a lot of gray skies in our own mind. Now is the time to be grateful and thankful, and I've written the top 10 things I am most thankful for on foxnews.com. I think it's really important. Actually, statistics have proven that if you write down what you're grateful for, it actually makes you happier.
I know what that picture's about, your legs.
That's right. I am happy for these big, strong legs. I'm happy for these big arms that I can wrap my family around. I'm thankful for you guys and my health and all sorts of things. You can read about that on foxnews.com. And I encourage you and everyone at home to write a gratitude list as well.
A lot of people only think about what they don't have. Right. They don't think about what they do have.
And we have so much.
That's a big problem.
Thankful for.
Janice, thank you so much.
I'm thankful for you.
We love you, and we are thankful for you.
Thanks, Janice. All right, Florida officials certifying election results today, finally coming 2 weeks after 2 weeks of recount chaos, of course, in key races in Florida. The final results confirm Republicans Rick Scott as Florida's new senator and Ron DeSantis as the new governor. Brenda Snipes, the embattled Broward County election supervisor, has also resigned.
President Trump's pick to temporarily lead the DOJ facing more legal challenges. 3 Senate Democrats suing to block Matt Whitaker's appointment as acting attorney general. They claim the assignment is unconstitutional since Whitaker was not confirmed by the Senate. They want a federal judge to remove him from the post immediately. The Justice Department says the appointment is legal. Despite Democrats suggesting otherwise, special counsel Robert Mueller says Whitaker's appointment does not alter his authority. And despite Robert Mueller breaking his silence on Matthew Whitaker's appointment, Democrats still aren't satisfied. Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist, says it's because they see the Russia probe as their chance to get Trump out of office.
Presidents have been temporary filling appointments like this going back to Thomas Jefferson. So the idea that Donald Trump is doing something wildly different than other presidents is ludicrous. But I think what's really happening is people had such hope that this special counsel would be used to unseat a democratically elected president, and they thought that maybe the Russia thing would go somewhere, or obstruction. And despite all the baiting, Trump is not even removing anyone or stopping this probe at all. So I think people are just frustrated that that big plan is not coming to fruition.
All right, new overnight, famed attorney Michael Avenatti tweeting that he will be fully exonerated after being arrested for domestic violence. He also claims that there is video evidence in this case. This comes hours after court records obtained by The Blast show actress Morelli Minuti filed for a restraining order against him in Los Angeles. Now, it's unclear if Minuti is the woman involved in last week's domestic violence incident, but we will keep following this story, let you know. Ivanka Trump's lawyer is slamming a report that she used her private email for government business. The Washington Post claims the White House advisor may have violated federal rules by using her personal account to communicate with White House or cabinet officials. A spokesperson for Trump's lawyer tells Fox News there was never classified information transmitted. The account was never transferred or housed at Trump Organization. No emails were ever deleted. They also say Ivanka reviewed her email practices and explained the issue to congressional leaders about 14 months ago.
We were anticipating this, and now the White House has new rules for the press after the dispute involving CNN's Jim Acosta. Journalists will now be allowed one question each and will only be given a follow-up at the discretion of the official. The White House also dropping efforts to revoke Acosta's press pass. CNN says its lawsuit against the administration is no longer necessary. The newest race we are watching is for the annual White House turkey pardon. Americans can vote on Twitter to decide whether President Trump will honor peas or carrots at today's ceremony.
Now, according to their official bios, Peas loves popcorn and Brad Paisley, but Carrots is into Elvis Presley and yoga.
The turkeys spent the night at D.C.'s luxury Willard Hotel, and they will retire at Virginia Tech after today's pardon. Gobble,
gobble, gobble. Hey, Chase.
Wow. All right, a Fox News alert now. Overnight, an Obama-appointed judge ruling the government cannot require that asylum seekers only use official border crossings. Our next guest lives near the southern border. Ashley Hayek joins us live with how this could have a major impact on the migrant caravan.
And up in smoke, a big day for smokers on the East Coast, where the first ever legal pot shops are set to open in just hours.
A vulnerability in our system right now by trying to claim asylum. What the president is doing is saying that if you want to claim asylum, you need to go to a port of entry. The judge who barred this is a San Francisco judge appointed by Obama, which basically shows how important the judicial appointments are by the president. The Constitution does not grant to a single judge the power to veto executive action. And so I can see this going all the way to the Supreme Court.
And if it does, the president may get a break now. But it is interesting how, I mean, you look at how this judge ruled on this, ignoring the fact that these asylum and wife and two little girls will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Chris Watts, heartbroken in-laws, speaking out at his sentencing.
You disgust me. You monster. Thought you would get away with this.
I have no idea who gave you the right to take their lives. But I know God and his mighty angels were there at that moment to bring them home to paradise.
Incredibly terrible story there. Prosecutors say Watts strangled his wife and suffocated his daughters to escape his marriage and start a new life with his girlfriend. Authorities say he contacted a realtor about selling his house one day after the murders.
And now this story keeps getting more bizarre. A woman accused of cooking up a GoFundMe scam with a homeless veteran says she was tricked into the scheme by her boyfriend. Caitlin McClure, Mark D'Amico, and Johnny Bobbitt Jr. are all facing criminal charges after prosecutors say they raised more than $400,000 after making up a story about the homeless vet giving McClure his last $20 to pay for gas when she was stuck on the side of the road. McClure's lawyer says recorded phone conversations with D'Amico proves she isn't responsible. In one of them, McClure says, quote, "You started the whole thing. You did everything. I had no part in any of this, and I'm the one taking the fault." Mark D'Amico replying, quote, "You don't go to jail for lying on TV."
I love that story. Everybody pointing fingers. No honor amongst thieves. It's got it all.
See how it ends.
It's just a good story. Fox Business Alert, a string of scandals weighing on Facebook's bottom line.
Tracy Kraska from our sister network, Fox Business, here with more on the financial downturn. Tracy.
Yes, good morning. We saw shares of Facebook falling more than 5.7% yesterday, hitting its lowest level since February 2017. So far, year to date, shares of Facebook down by about 25%. The company really trying to recover after last week's report in the New York Times. A damaging report about top management. This after a number of string of missteps, a number of bad headlines from the company as well. But we are going to be watching shares very closely. So far, they are down again in the pre-market, set to close its third straight month in the red.
And the Rolling Stones,
yes,
they keep rolling on. I mean, this
sure
is incredible.
Mick Jagger, even at 75 years old,
wow.
They have announced a new 13-leg tour of its No Filter tour starting in spring 2019. They're going to kick off the first show in Miami April 20th. There'll be shows in Texas, Arizona, California, Washington, Colorado, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New Jersey. The list goes on. But tickets do go on sale November 30th. So if you are a fan, get those tickets soon.
You were just looking at that list, Rob. Which one are you going to go to?
Well, it looks like Rutherford, New Jersey might be the closest one.
There you go.
I mean, it's, you know, they say don't retire because it all starts to shut down. There's your proof.
True.
I mean, they just keep going and they just keep living. It's awesome.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks.
It is 25 minutes after the hour. President Trump just got another reason to tout the economy.
Maybe it's the best economy we've ever had. America now has the hottest economy on earth. Make America wealthy again.
The president's economic approval rating now hitting a new high, and Professor Brian Brenberg is here to break down the brand new numbers, explain why. Coming up next.
The Taliban declaring.
I think, though, that there's a lot of partisanship in that number, that a lot of Democrats are going to say this economy stinks no matter how good it gets.
Yeah, it's true. There's always a partisan factor in there. So that's why the 53 number is big. What it shows is about 91% of Republicans approve of the president's handling of the economy, about 21% of Democrats. But that 21% number is very high. If you look at how partisan this issue is, almost a quarter of Democrats have to say, look, this is a good economy because the numbers don't lie. And these numbers, by the way, are numbers that people feel when it comes to job creation, when it comes to wage gains. If there's a help wanted sign hanging on the storefront window, you can't argue with that. That means you've got a good economy.
Yeah, and you just wonder if you take partisanship out of it, what would that number actually be if it was, you know, if they didn't matter?
Look, you've got 7 million jobs available in this country, a record high, 3.7% unemployment. When you just look at those numbers on their face, it's very hard to say economic prospects are good. The fact is, people are getting at jobs at a rate they haven't seen in a very long time. Their wages are going up. There's opportunity here in a way that some people have never seen in their career. If they're young enough, they've never seen opportunity.
3.7% unemployment, and you hear people all the time talking about how they can't find people, and there's more jobs than there are people.
We're in an economy where employers are saying, I just can't find people to fill these jobs. I need people with skills that they just don't have right now. So what we should be talking about here is how do we skill people up for these jobs, not arguing about whether it's a good economy. It's a great economy. Let's help people participate in it.
Yeah. All right. So the president's gotten a lot of criticism for calling himself a nationalist and what he thinks that means, and for his policies going after a lot of these other countries, trying to make it, I guess, a fair playing field in the United States. Are the voters buying into this, I guess, America first?
I don't think voters have ever viewed America first as ideologically as the critics of the president claim they do. For them, it simply means we should care for those around us. We ought to put our own house in order. And so they look at the president's economic policies, from taxes to regulation to pushing back on unfair trade practices in China, and they simply say, this is America standing up for itself, putting its own house in order, taking care of people in our communities. And that's the kind of thing we praise in families, by the way. Why wouldn't Americans also buy into that? So it's not that ideological. It's a much more practical thing.
And we're just not as rich as I think we feel we are when you get this on the kind of debt that we have, 22 trillion, and you're throwing money around all over the world to help other places. You have a crumbling infrastructure and terrible debt in this country.
Well, yeah, look, debt is a real problem, but we've got communities full of people who for a long time have been looking for a way to get back onto the economic ladder. The president has, but that's the issue he ran on in 2016. His policies are focused on getting them back onto that ladder.
And real quick, a lot of people worried about, everything's going really good right now. There are concerns. You hear whispers around the financial guys talking about maybe some kind of recession coming globally. People worried about Italy. People worried about China.
Well, more than whispers globally, China's in a really serious situation right now. Their growth has slowed a lot. Big problems in Italy. Europe has been one of those places where you've seen problems consistently.
Italy's a bad story.
By the way, that's why it's so important that growth in the United States stays strong. It's one of the economies that's lifting the globe right now. If growth slows here, that becomes a real issue.
Is Italy big enough to affect the United States? It's a big country.
Well, it'll certainly affect us to some degree, but if our economy continues to grow strongly, there's opportunity here. We can stay insulated from a lot of that. But if we lose economic growth steam here, then things going on in Italy, then things going on in China are a much bigger deal.
Last time I was there, I talked to people and they said there's no work here. You just can't get a job. Kids are working 2-3 jobs trying to make the rent.
Job growth and opportunity matters, my friend.
Brian, thank you so much. We appreciate it. 36 minutes after the hour, Democrats pushing a pretty far left agenda, at least some of them.
Everyone, all should receive the health care they need.
Tuition free.
Medicare for all, tuition-free public college.
All right, you can now add New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio to that list. The socialist impulse from the New York City mayor. We're going to talk about that. Plus a snowflake alert. Forget using the word don't. And apparently typing in capital letters can be frightening. Carly Shimkus is no snowflake. The White House Correspondents Association ditching comedy at its annual dinner after a performance from Michelle Wolf that was unforgettable last year.
I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies.
Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Ron Chernow will host the dinner next year. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7 Sirius XM 115. Here with reaction online.
Hey, good morning, guys. So following last year's controversy, like you said, the White House Correspondents Association has decided to ditch the comedy portion of the night. They're going with a more serious speaker, historian Ron Chernow, whose work actually inspired the hit Broadway musical Hamilton. Chernow's speech will focus on the First Amendment, but he vows to keep audience members from falling asleep, saying freedom of the press is always a timely subject, and this seems like the perfect moment to go back to basics. While I have never been mistaken for a stand-up comedian, I promise that my history lesson won't be dry. Meanwhile, comedian Michelle Wolf is not impressed. She says the White House Correspondents Association are cowards, the media is complicit, and I couldn't be prouder. Meanwhile, some folks on social media think that this is a good idea. Claire on Twitter says, had to stop when good fun turned to hateful rhetoric. And then another Twitter user, Milton, chiming in saying, this actually seems like it could be a good faith step by the White House Correspondents Association to mend fences. Keep in mind, the president has been accused of attacking the First Amendment. That's what this dinner is going to be focused on. So there still could be plenty of reaction from the White House when all is said and done.
So I think there's some truth to this next story, because when I want to really drive home a point, I definitely text with capital letters.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I know what you mean there, Jillian. Let's see what everybody has to think about this one. So a college in the UK is encouraging teachers to avoid using capital letters because it could intimidate students. Leeds Trinity College professors also being told to write in helpful, warm tones, avoid officious language, and negative instructions. A spokesperson for the university says that this will help students perform to their highest level, but some folks on social media are calling them snowflakes. Tim says, what do they actually teach in schools and colleges these days? Jamie says, how are these young people going to survive life if universities continue this pathetic manner? And Martin also saying, next it will be, you cannot use red pen for correcting work. Well, the college also saying that teachers should avoid using do and don't, but they say these are just gentle suggestions, and there is not an all-out ban on capital letters.
That red pen.
That red pen, yeah, that means you either did really good or really bad.
I guess this nonsense isn't singular to the United States. It's creeping out into
it's global.
the UK as well, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, hey, a new Christmas tree for the White House.
Yeah, it is beginning to look a whole lot like Christmas at the White House. President Trump and the First Lady greeted guests as the White House Christmas tree was being delivered. This year's tree is a Fraser fir from North Carolina. It will be placed in the Blue Room of the White House, where the chandelier will be removed to accommodate its massive size. One Twitter user chiming in saying, I can't wait to see how the White House will be decorated. Last year was a dream. Let's just get to one more tweet from Tim that says, thanks to all of the new jobs, there will be more presents under the tree for kids that would not have in previous years. Thank you, Mr. President Trump. The tree stands 19.5 feet tall, so a big one this year. How about
they should do the Griswold thing with the house, with the White House, you know, just lights on every square inch.
Excellent suggestion.
Classy. You can see it from the moon.
It would light up the entire East Coast.
Love it. That's a good one.
Carly, thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, now it's time to check in with Todd Pyro, who joins us live at Quakertown Family Restaurant in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. You're just north of my hood, Todd.
Yeah, I was about to say, how close am I to Jillianville?
About 40 minutes.
Okay, so these are your people.
So
they're Eagles fans, so I should leave right now. What was that, Rob?
You're hanging out with the Quakers.
What was that?
Quakertown.
Yeah, I mean, because Quakers and I are tight. We use the same transportation, I think.
I love that.
So let's get to the business of why we're here. We're here to talk to the people about the issues. And obviously, there's no want for issues. The economy, the border, the caravan, Trump's approval rating on the economy, Nancy Pelosi. We're going to talk about all that with the folks here. And what's nice, obviously, we went to a lot of diners around election time. And, it was definitely intense. We were sort of grilling people on very, very specific issues with regard to the blue wave, red wave, all that stuff. Today, we're just going to sit back, talk to the people about what they want to talk about. We may actually eat some pies, too. And the producers back there don't know I'm doing this, but this is a very deep tease. There is something coming up on Thanksgiving morning with all of us that when I tell the viewers out there in Fox and Friends First Lane, it will be epic. You need to tune in on Thanksgiving morning. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
We don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Todd, thank you so much.
Thanks,
we will
Todd.
look forward to that.
Tease deep.
I like it. All right, Todd, thanks. When we come back, Florida fighting to hold two of the country's largest drugstores accountable for the opioid epidemic. Is this the right answer?
Dr. Nicole Saphier is here and says responsibility should...
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she is using her Instagram account to humanize government. The New York Congresswoman-elect explaining her frequent on MSNBC.
I think it's really important that when we actually show people that government is a real thing, that it is something that you can be a part of, it's a process that we can transition into, it really kind of opens up the window to show that anyone can serve.
Of Congress will be sworn in January.
I'll take it from here, Rob. I think we're having an issue with your microphone. So let's go to this. Florida is taking a major step in the fight to end the opioid crisis, filing a lawsuit against two of the country's largest pharmacy chains. Is this new lawsuit a good next step toward ending the epidemic? Here to weigh in is Fox News medical contributor Dr. Nicole Saphier. And NRTs, just to be clear, we had said that you thought physicians were the ones to be held responsible for this, but really you say it's actually everybody, right?
Right. We cannot narrow the opioid crisis down to just one culprit at this point. It is multifactorial, to say the least. And State Attorney General Pam Bondi just added pharmacies, CVS and Walgreens, to this already existing lawsuit that has named multiple drug companies. And what they're using words such as racketeering, conspiracy, and gross negligence, saying that they illegitimately inflated the supply and demands of opioids, causing innumerable deaths and overdoses in the state of Florida. And she's needing funding to help this.
So here's what the Florida lawsuit claims, and you mentioned some of this, that CVS distributed 700 million dosages of opioids in Florida from 2006 to 2014, that Walgreens distributed 285,000 orders of oxycodone to a town of 3,000 people in 1 month. I mean, these are some high numbers. Dr. Nicole, are we in too deep to this fight?
We're in very deep. Drug overdose is the leading cause of accidental death in the United States, and the opioid epidemic or crisis, whatever you want to call it, is fueling that fire. And how did this happen? Well, in the late 1990s, pain associations started pushing for adequate pain control. And all of a sudden, JACO, which is a nonprofit independent organization, made pain what we call the fifth vital sign. Pain is not a vital sign. It's a symptom. But what happened was, for hospitals to receive government funding, they needed to adequately treat pain. So there's overprescribing. There was too much pushing from the pharmaceutical companies. Pharmacies were not regulating. Patients were abusing medications, and here we are.
So what do you think happens with the lawsuit?
Pam Bondi, state of Florida, they're needing funding to help them with the crisis they're seeing in Florida, and that's what they're doing here. If they can prove gross negligence on the part by the pharmaceutical company and the pharmacies, then perhaps they should be helping fund some of this.
Okay, let's talk about this next topic here. Senators claim drug company hiked price of opioid reversing drug by more than 600% to capitalize on the crisis. Now, this is not the first time that we've heard these astronomical hikes in drug prices.
Right. Unfortunately, in the United States, we have a legalized monopoly when it comes to pharmaceuticals. And President Trump, I will give him some credit. He's doing the unglamorous work of helping decrease some of the drug prices, especially when it comes to Medicare. And what we're seeing here, you have multiple generic forms of naloxone, which is the life-saving drug for opioid overdoses. However, the patients don't necessarily choose the medications they want. It's all by formularies on the insurance companies, your pharmacy benefit managers, and so they cut deals with drug companies to get certain discounts on medications, but that discount's not necessarily being seen for the patients. Now, it is a little misleading when you start listing all these drug list prices, because that actual dollar amount isn't necessarily what's being paid. You have to offset for those that are uninsured or aren't actually paying for this medication. However, the 600% increase came after a consultant firm said, how are we going to make more profit?
Right. And just to put up the statement here from Kelly, which is the company, on the scandal, and it says, quote, "We have received voluntary reports from recipients of donated product that Evzio has saved more than 5,000 lives since we launched the product in 2014. Second, we've never turned an annual profit on the sale of Evzio. 2 patients, not profits, have driven our actions."
Right, and that's very important to keep in mind, that it costs a lot of money to bring a drug to market. So it does take a while for them to see profit. So, unfortunately, their books aren't open to everyone, but we don't actually know the profit there. We do need to make sure that the taxpayers are not being being manipulated or paying
they're not
far
the
too
ones
much money.
having to pay something they can afford when they need it.
Absolutely, especially when there are less expensive generics available. We need to make sure those are in the right hands as well.
All right, Dr. Nicole Saphier, thank you very much. And we're coming right back. Stay there.